How we doing, everybody? So my last video was very specific on how to composite, and I wanted to do something that's a little bit more sculpting focused. So in this video, I'm going to take you through this entire character, head to toe. I'm going to go through every single subtool and kind of explain what I'm doing here and what was the purpose of this subtool. Just to start off, this figure is the Legion of the Night. This is pose 1, and you can find him at tigerskullrpg.com or he's on Patreon right now at patreon.com/tigerskullrpg. Okay, let's get into it. So I guess what do we have here? I've got my top of my layer. This one is, and please ignore the naming here. I don't really name my layers. This is something I really need to call out because I just alt-click to navigate to the piece I want. So you can see I just alt-click and there you have it. But let's start at the top and see what Henchman Pose 1 is. This is sort of an extracted piece. Again, I'm doing this kind of blind. It's been a while since I was even in here. But what's nice about this is you can, I think I just extracted this off the body to make some armor. You know, you can really quickly make yourself kind of a cool breastplate or something like this. At least this is the way I do it. Let's pick a nice metal material. Something like this. So I might go in and tune my smoothing settings, but more or less, something's preventing me from subdividing this here. Oh, this is a Z-sphere, but I think. Yeah. Oh, okay. So this is a retopology. Gotcha. Again, it's been a while. But that's another technique I'll do is just retopologize. That's a whole other video, but that'll quickly draw up some nice armor for you. I'm going to delete this. We don't need this. What do we got next? Some bolts. These bolts are on the legs here. And yeah, so this is insert brush. I have made my own little rivets. And this is great for adding little details. So what you do is you insert a sphere, something with a flat layer. I always just like throw a sphere in here. Oh, let's see. It's got kind of a weird pivot. Scale it down and just. I'm going to delete this sphere later actually, but it's just nice to have something. So now, like, you do need to have the layer. You need to have something present in your layer here to actually do this. So I just make a simple sphere for that. So then you can come around here and insert it wherever you like. This one kind of went inside the hole. And yeah, and then do your rivets in this way. So that's what that layer's for. Let's keep going down the list here. What's this next one? Okay, these chains. I felt like the chains were just kind of boring well, not boring. Chains are never really boring, but I don't know. I guess I wanted to add something to the chains. And this guy was a bat, so I kind of made this bat-shaped chain. It's like a steel, dangerous-looking, spiky link here. And I just wanted to add a little bit something extra to the chains just to spice them up a little bit, because what I've done in the past is kind of design links that had spikes on them as something unique, but they just were, I found them to be not very much fun to support, to be honest. So I kept the chains more normal and just added some accent meshes to make them kind of my own and unique. And let's see, okay, so that's what those are. Let's keep going down here. Next one, we have the breastplate. So this is, as I was saying, like that geo we saw earlier is probably what I used to create this. And here's my lower layers. I like to work pretty clean. This is using the Zmodeller tool. All these polygroups kind of get generated as you model with the Zmodeller. So well, I can't Zmodel on this because there's a subdivision history, but I'll show you what I mean here. If I wanted to add another, say another panel to this, I would mark that polygroup island and then inset, you inset region, and there you go, and then you can extrude this sort of middle region that you got from that, and there you go, and you have now you have another kind of layer that we inserted in here, and so yeah, that's the story behind this piece of armor here. Let's see what we have here. Okay, so the sword. What I do, so you'll notice, like, first off, we're at like 5 mil. I don't have any subdivision layers, and the reason is because when I'm doing weapons for these guys, I usually model them in a separate scene, or sculpt them, I should say, and they have their own Zbrush file, and I just merge them and bring them in and pose them where I need to be, because I feel like the weapons are so intricate, they really deserve their own, well, not that they deserve it, but you're going to be pulling your hair out trying to sculpt something like this within another sculpt. So I do that on their own, and I just bring them in when they're done at the end. So I've got this guy's got 2 weapons, they're both the same. He's a dual wielding type, so that's what we have here. Scroll down a little bit, another weapon, and here's the front breastplate, and yeah, it's pretty much the same as the other one. I did some extra detailing, nothing too crazy. I just kind of added this this dotted ridge to just highlight from a distance my layering, my detail work. It's just, I didn't want to do anything too much, but I also needed to, I want to do something more than just these lines. But that's kind of where I left it. So that's what's going on there. What's next? These buckles. So these are some unique buckles I designed, and again, these are, I'm just going to delete my subdivision so I can show you. I find with buckles, I make them and then I turn them into a brush, because it just saves you a lot of time, and usually you have more than one buckle on the mesh. I mean, some people might say you could really go to town and have multiple, like a whole row of them. Some designs definitely call for that, but I liked 4. I thought that was good. I kind of wanted to make an X pattern on this guy without actually covering up the armor, so that's why I did this. So there you go. Another insert brush. What do we have here? The lower cloth. Looks like his lower kind of loincloth, or his undershirt, I guess. Usually I guess this is a loincloth, but in this case it's an undershirt. Yeah, the illusion is that this is the same as his collar up here, but because just to make posing easier, I split the 2. Yeah, there's no sense having layer upon layer underneath the armor. That's just going to be messy. So I split these 2. So we have this down here. It's just you know, sculpted mesh. Oops, with some trim brushing, some pattern work, and that's kind of it. This part of his design was inspired by the Iori character from King of Fighters. All right, next one. What do we have? Oh, these shoulder pieces. So these actually I sculpted a long time ago. Every skeleton I make has this crest. This is the Legion's crest, and I try to incorporate it in every single design that I do, because it just kind of shows that these guys are from the same world, and they all share this crest, and puts all the characters into one larger collection. So there you go. And let's hit escape. We don't need to render and best for all this. Let's just keep it in preview. So that's that layer. What do we have here now? Spikes. These are another trademark of my skeletons. I always incorporate some kind of like spike in the armor design, just to kind of like just make them feel a bit more menacing. And you know, you don't want to get anywhere near these guys. These are not like normal skeletons. These are armored up mega skeletons. You know, I feel like a lot of times skeletons are like, I don't know, they've been raised from the dead or whatever, and you just kind of kill them. They're real squishy. They just fall apart. But these skeletons, I want it to be like, oh, some necromancer, like, you know, raised their army, and they're trying to build like a banging army of skeletons with cool armor. They're investing a little bit more. Next, we have these gloves. These are, I kind of wanted like a Victorian flair to these gloves, and I wanted to, again, just kind of poke them out, give them a sharper outline. And yeah, so there they are. Here's the hand poses. I always pose these hands uniquely, so you'll see they're slightly different, right? Like he's holding the sword at a slightly different angle on this side, so the hand pose is a little bit different. Even though they're both fists, probably a lot of people don't notice it, but I just enjoy hand posing that really makes sense. So yeah, those are done. Every pose has got kind of a unique fingers, or the way it interacts with the blade is totally unique to each pose. What do we have? He's got sort of a fleshy neck. Nothing crazy here. This just connects him to the body, and I've got some subdivisions on here so that when I pose it, I can easily, you know, anything that's deformed, it's going to deform when I pose it. I really want it to have a low poly mesh, so I can bend it and shape it. For example, the contrast of that is the swords here, which they don't have their low poly layers, as I mentioned. Because they don't bend, so it's not necessary for me to keep those. Anyway, so that's the neck. Well, what's next here? Let's keep going down. We've got his undershirt. I like to just kind of have a some kind of body to keep me grounded. So this is what's going on under there. He's got like a leather coat. What else we got? Just some more layers of armor. These are all made in the same way. I did these after the breastplate, and just tried to match the same design style of the breastplate. I don't have my poly groups. Yeah, I've since deleted the poly groups that I used to extrude all the edges and do those details. And I was playing around with just a different way of getting this edged look on these ones, I remember. So I actually sculpted the ridges in on this one, whereas here there's more of like geometry reinforcing it. And I just wanted to see, I'm always like looking for what is the best approach, and I don't know if I decided which way I prefer to create these. I feel like yeah, I will say this, it's a lot easier to sculpt a clean shape when you know what you have to sculpt. And with the breastplate I was exploring, and I feel like exploring in this low poly geo, while can be a bit more time consuming, you're not left with a mushy pile of like a soft, refined sculpt that you've been exploring and muddying up. So that helps me to create these a little bit faster and just sculpt them directly. We've got the skull. This skull is I sculpted this skull a while ago. Every time I do a skeleton, I come in and I do change the proportions of it a little bit, and it's kind of become it's become the skull of the series, I guess, of skeletons that I refer to as the Legions of the Night. And I'm not sure what else to say, but in this case, we redid the teeth because these are vampire skeletons. So I redid the teeth, and I had to change some of the proportions around the nose and jaw and just the sinus area to accommodate this larger canine jaw structure. So that was some work I had to do. And I didn't want to have usually I have a shirt or something on figures, but these guys are like, I want them to be like a mix of flesh and bone at their core, not just a skeleton, but like there's still some muscle attached to the bone. So this is just his it's very minimal sculpting, but I just really wanted some ribs, the collarbone just to show here, so that's just a little piece to kind of show that. Next we have the pants. Again, he's got like a leather base of pants, and I just like to, again, it's just kind of some wrinkle sculpting at the knees and some trimming, and that's about it. Because this is a layer underneath a lot of other details, I did do these wrinkles in symmetry, so you'll see these match from side to side here. But I figured because there's so much going on, it's okay. Usually I will, and the pose on left to right is very similar to, like, if he was raising one leg, you'd never get away with that, and you'd have to go in and sculpt everything again on either side. Let's move along. We have some straps, and again, a lot like everything else, you can see there's a underlaying structure of geometry here. So really the sculpt is just some surface detail and making sure that they interact with these other buckles nicely. And then here's the buckle layer. Again, these are an insert brush. I have a few these buckles here, so if you want to add them, and these all have geometry supporting them, so you can see they're, by default, they're not smooth, they're kind of this hard-edged, but yeah, I find that's a very clean way to approach a lot of these details. We have some more buckles on the shoes, and I guess one thing you'll notice here is, like, I sort of have the wow, when you get up close and you really starts to break down, but it's just on the foot here, so that's kind of why. But it looks a little better with color. What I was going to say was, I sculpt the look of the belt, but I always, on the underlayer, extrude it quite a bit in, so when you see it in isolation, it looks extra thick, and that's because I don't want any holes under these belts, so I always make sure to extrude them well into the geo while I'm making them. Here we go. Knee pads, again, this is just that same armor pass as before, same styling. Next, the chain layer itself. let's see. Yeah, so again, this is one of my brushes. Is it this one? I have a few chains. And let's just see. Is this the one? No, I don't think so. I have another one here. I think it's this one. I think what I did was I used this one, which is kind of hard-edged, and then I went in and smoothed it all out to give it kind of like, it's hard-edged, but it's not completely rigid looking. And that was the look that I felt is needed here. What's next? Some more straps just to for these, yeah, just to make these make sense. These buckles up here. Next, same thing. Next. Oh, these are sort of his chains. So the idea with these skeletons is that they've been kind of kept in a dungeon somewhere, and they're vampires, right? So they've been like locked up and been prevented from feeding on anything for an inordinate amount of time, so that way when they're finally unleashed on people, they're extra savage. And so I wanted them to have an element of like they're also prisoners, right? And so that's why they kind of have the chain, and they're locked up here at the elbow. What's the next one? Oh, just a little piece of armor on the back to further, just in a very blatant way, say, hey, these are vampires, they have bat influence, and they do have a bat form, which you can 3D print. So that was just a little design element. It's kind of a nod to the fact that they're vampire bat type folks. We've got some leather shoes under here, underneath everything. It's very simple. We have, what's this? Where is it? Zoom out a little bit. Some more straps on the arms. They look a little wobbly. It's just, you know, I put them on clean, and then I kind of move them around as I fit them to the arm, and give them a little bit of natural kind of shake and wobble. And same thing here, same straps with a little kind of, just a little clasp, you know, something to highlight with metal as you're painting. It's nice to kind of have metal on leather layered up, I find. So I always find ways to sneak different materials in. Same thing, let's keep going down. Same thing. The belt, yeah, here we go. Now, how did I do this belt? Let's have a look. I do it differently sometimes. Okay, so I think, yeah, so there is a little bit of facade here. I kind of extrude the belt out, and if you want, I can show you really quickly, I think, what I mean by that. Let's just make a cylinder and sort of belt shaped, and so let's pretend, how do we want to do this? Let's just pretend this is our belt. Let's extrude all our polygons so I can show you that thickness, and we don't need this. If you go to extrude and on the edge, yeah, we'll get something like that. Oh, that works. I was kind of expecting the other side, but that's okay. And then extrude a single poly, sure. And then you get kind of this belt shape. And don't really need these to be creased, but there you go. And the rest is just, you know, I'll kind of just fake the rest. You know, I'll sculpt the holes in and stitching and everything else. But that is really, this is the basic approach that I use for creating belts. Let's take that all the way up. Okay. Next, we'll get to the bottom here. We've got the collar. yeah, you can see my structure of geometry. Again, like let's delete. I'll show you guys how I start. I'll model something sort of like this. Actually, I'll probably start with a flat sheet like this and extrude the rest out and get my creases in order. And you can see my creasing here. So when I hit D, I get my nice edges. I always, if I can create a crease, like a sculpted crease with an actual crease on the polygon, I always do that with the polygon. It's always going to be cleaner than trying to draw it. If it's something that needs to crisscross, like a wrinkle or something, then you pretty much have to draw it. Sometimes you can get crafty with adding edge loops and stuff, but I find it's just better to sculpt. It's just quicker. Yeah, I mean, you know, at least for miniatures. I can see there's other situations where you might want to try to retain as much in low poly as you can as far as the sculpt goes. And then what do we have left? Just a few more bolts back here. So that is it. That's him. Pretty straightforward. That's a lot of the stuff I do every time. Yeah. Thanks for watching. If you want to print this guy, you can visit me at tigerskullrpg.com, and the listing should be up there. You can order a print. You know, I'll send you a miniature if you want as well from tigerskullrpg.com. You don't have to be a 3D printer to enjoy these minis. Yeah. So thanks for watching. If you're into this, just like and subscribe, follow, and all that sort of thing. And I'm thinking about maybe opening up a mentorship, possibly as a tier on Patreon. I'm not sure. I'm still thinking about it. If that's something that you're interested in, let me know. Yeah, leave a comment. Let me know, and yeah, maybe it'll just help me figure out whether that's a good idea, if y'all are interested in that. So yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good one, and take it easy, everybody.